Hello my friends and welcome to another episode of Genuine Chit-Chat. This is the first episode of 2023, so I hope you all had a wonderful holiday season and a great end to 2022 and a great start to this year. I do apologise, last week I did not release an episode for the first time in a long time, and then this week it's like a bonus special episode sort of. So there's a new show announcement that's going to be on the feed of Comics in Motion and also on Genuine Chit-Chat's YouTube channel, and then after that you're going to hear our afterthoughts on Avatar from 2009, and then you're going to hear our afterthoughts on Friends, the entirety of the series. And the reason for this is primarily because I had a recording scheduled with someone this week, but we had to reschedule, and rather than scrambling and trying to find someone or something, I just thought, I'll put it on the new show announcement along with the couple of Patreon things to kind of somewhat as a placeholder, but also to kind of nudge you guys and be like, hey, go over to Patreon, you get a lot of cool content for only £1 a month. And this sort of stuff, myself and Megan, like bantering, that's the kind of content that you would get. So loads of afterthoughts. I think there's 140 afterthoughts now. Some of them are book reviews of mainly Star Wars stuff, but there is Sense and Sensibility by Jane Austen on there as well. A couple of comic reviews, but primarily it's myself and Megan reviewing TV shows and movies and giving our thoughts on it. Some of them are brand new things, like we're going to be recording our thoughts on Avatar Way of the Water soon, and also Lightyear, but then there's other stuff that's like older films that we hadn't seen, like we recently watched Departed and Gangs of New York, things like that. So it's quite a wide berth of stuff, lots of great content that anyone can enjoy, and an Afterthoughts episode releases at least once a week, sometimes twice depending on the release schedule of other things. But yeah, little plug there. I hope you have a wonderful new year, and rest assured for the coming weeks, I have got loads of recordings due. I've got like a couple in 1 week. So from now, there shouldn't be any more gaps in the recording schedule, so you'll get the amazing stuff you usually do. And any Patreon supporters will already know who I'm going to be talking to in the next month, because over on Patreon for the £2 a month tier and over, you get access to the future guest lists. So I put on there who I'm going to be talking to over the next month, afterthoughts that are coming out, guest spots I'm going to be doing, that sort of thing. But if you just want to hear the audio content I release on their afterthoughts, basically the things you'll hear in this, you can support the show for only £1 a month, and you get access to every single piece of audio content with its own links. You can put the feed wherever you listen to podcasts, so please consider checking that out. Details will be in the description. So yeah, just wanted to give that explanation to say to all of you lovely people that I hope you have a wonderful start to 2023, and I hope I can in some way help with that. So here are just a couple of really fun episodes of Patreon that were released at some point last year. I hope you enjoy them very much. But thank you as always for supporting this show. Please follow me on social media at Genuine Chit-Chat. Consider becoming a Patreon supporter, share the show with your friends, talk about it and review on Good Pods, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all those lovely places, because it really helps the show out. But without further ado, my friends, here is the new show announcement, followed by 2 Patreon episodes. Hello there, this is Mike Burton of Star Wars Comics in Canon and Genuine Chit-Chat speaking, and I'm here to announce a new show for the feed of Comics in Motion and for youtube.com/Genuine Chit-Chat. It will be myself, Dave Horrocks, and Math discussing Star Wars Rebels. So there are 4 seasons of this, and we'll have a discussion episode releasing every couple of months for each season. Think of it like Season's Greetings for Star Wars without the copyright infringement. If you're unaware, Season's Greetings is another show on Comics in Motion, go check it out. But for those of you who may not know, Star Wars Rebels is an animated TV show produced by Lucasfilm and takes place in between events of Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope. As the Empire continues to tighten its grip on the galaxy and hunt down remaining Jedi, small groups are starting to rise up in the rebellion. There's a whole host of new characters, as well as some familiar faces from the movies. And in my opinion, this is one of the best pieces of Star Wars content that exists. And between the 3 of us, I've watched the Rebels a few times, Dave watched it once, and Math has never seen it before. So wherever your background is with the show, there's going to be a great perspective for you, get to learn some stuff along the way, and we will not be spoiling future seasons either. So our first episode should come out in February time, but before that we'd love to hear from you. So if you have any questions about the show and season 1 specifically, please send them either to Comics in Motion or Genuine Chit-Chat. Our social media is going to be in the description, so check that out. And whether it's questions about specific characters, storylines, Easter eggs, or anything at all, including your perspectives, just send it to us and we'll read it out on the show. So, you can find Comics in Motion anywhere you usually listen to podcasts, but if you prefer YouTube, that's completely fine. Go over to youtube.com/Genuine Chit-Chat, make sure you subscribe, and you will also be getting video versions of those conversations so you can see our lovely faces too. And it's worth adding here, if you enjoyed Andor, please give Star Wars Rebels a go. They have a lot of similarities between them. I personally enjoy Rebels a little bit more because it's got a bit more about the Force and Jedi and that sort of things. But if you are listening and you haven't checked out Rebels, go check that out, especially if you enjoyed Andor. But with that all in mind, friends, don't forget, this is our rebellion. And remember, may the Force be with you. The intro is arranged by myself, Mike Burton, and the backing music was made by Eric Matias of soundimage.org. And we're here for an Avatar afterthoughts.
Afterthoughts, afterthoughts, afterthoughts. But the first Avatar, not the second.
Yes, and the James Cameron movie, not the manga anime series.
Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Yeah, well, that's the live action version of the. Actually,
the cartoon was called The Last.
Yeah,
Airbender.
the animated one is called Last Airbender. Yeah, sorry, the other one's something about Aang. I don't know.
Well, it doesn't matter. Anyway, we're talking about the first Avatar movie, the one with the blue people.
Na'vi, in 2009 by James Cameron, first in a franchise. So, Megan, you and I had respectively seen this in the cinema when it first came out, as I think almost everyone did, who's vaguely into movies. Everyone I know saw Avatar. What did you think when you first saw it, and what were you thinking? Why have we rewatched it?
I remember it being really long, and I remember feeling underwhelmed by the film because of the hype that was around it. Yeah, I don't really remember much from watching it. I just remember that it was really long, and I just didn't feel completely thrilled by it.
So what?
Then I think I tried watching it at another point, and then I fell asleep. Standard.
Right. But then, what made you want to watch it this time?
Well, so my brother and sister-in-law went and saw the second one, and they said that it was really good. Then my mum was raving about how good the first one was, and they were raving about how good the first one was, and I was like, am I remembering this film wrong? Because they were all going on about, well, my brother and sister-in-law were going on about how, like, good the second one is, and I was like, oh, maybe, if it's really good.
Yeah.
So we watched the first one, and it was actually a lot better than I remember it. Also, apologies for my croaky voice. This is post-drinking, Megan.
Yeah, you were up till 3 a.m. last night.
I was. A little party animal.
But
yeah, excuse the croakiness of my voice. But yeah, no, I really enjoyed it. I do think there are some elements of it that I think are stupid. Like, I stand by the fact that the element that they're trying to collect is called unobtainium, which is just such a lackluster name, really.
For someone who's...
It's like someone's obviously going to try and fucking obtain it. Unobtainium.
For something that's so... Like, James Cameron, who thinks out so much stuff, and he wanted a Na'vi language to be created, and all this sort of other stuff, and all these details, and then he just came up with unobtainium.
Yeah,
it's like, for God's sake.
I know it's a very minor thing, but it irritates me somewhat. But yeah, no, I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. So I'm looking forward to going to see the second one at some point, or waiting for it to come to... Does it come to Disney Plus? Where does it go?
Yeah, it'll be Disney Plus. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean, I'm in a similar boat. I watched it at the cinema, was kind of underwhelmed by it, but I was like so hyped for it because I loved Terminator 2 and Aliens. I was telling my friends about it before it's released, like how hyped I was. And then I saw it with a couple of mates, and I was, quite underwhelmed. And I haven't revisited it since, and obviously that was 2009, so that was 13 years ago that we went and see that. I was waiting for you to say, oh God, it's disgusting. That's normally what is said when it's... I
wasn't really paying attention.
Oh, mate.
I got distracted by looking at my cookbook.
Thanks. That's why I made sure you closed it. Because then when you're reading it, what are you doing afterwards?
Well, I was just looking at... So I got a Harry Potter official baking book, and I was just looking at it, and the front cover has a really cool Hogwarts castle, so I got distracted by that. Yeah. But yeah, it is gross that it's so long ago that it came out, because it doesn't feel like that. I distinctly remember going to the cinema. I remember who I went with. I remember going. I remember watching the film. I remember having the fucking 3D glasses on.
Same.
And I remember I went with, was a boyfriend, but a boyfriend in year 11, so I don't really know if it counts, to be honest. But anyway, I went with my boyfriend from secondary school. And I remember Ashton had glasses anyway, so he had to wear his glasses, and then he had to wear the fucking 3D glasses on top of them.
That's pretty...
Yeah, it's nuts that it's that long ago. It doesn't feel like that long ago.
Yeah, and I think that... Yeah, I was in the same boat. I was kind of underwhelmed by it, and I think the internet has been slating it for years, and I kind of thought it was worse than it was. And then I watched it, I was like, it's actually a really solid, well-paced, very enjoyable movie.
And also just how fucking beautiful it is.
Yeah, of course. It's one of those. It looks incredible. It's like all the characters are really interesting. It's got emotional beats. All of it is really good. It's a really, really good movie. I see why it was so... I kind of took the world by storm in a sense. It's got such widespread appeal. And our friend Chris Brayton, who did the I Like to Like Things podcast, he's been on Genuine Chit-Chat a couple of times. He liked Avatar, but wasn't super into it. But then he went to Disney World and went to the Avatar ride, and in that you go in the queue and it's all Pandora stuff. And he said that is the most immersive, most incredible of the Disney stuff that he's seen.
Yeah, because that's the one in Florida, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm excited because we're planning on going to America in 2024.
Yeah.
So that's definitely somewhere we will go. Go see Pandora.
Are you now hyped to go see Way of the Water? Or The Way of Water?
The problem is that it's so fucking long.
Yeah.
Trying to go to the cinema to watch it is problematic for me because it means it has to be at a weekend.
Yeah.
Because there's no way that I'm going to be able to last a 3-hour and a bit movie after work in the evening.
The weekend of the 7th.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to go see it at the weekend.
Yeah.
But
a big old coffee with you.
Yeah. It's a bit sad that it's got to the point in my life now that I have to take iced coffee with me to the cinema if it's going in the evening, so I know that I'm going to fall asleep.
I also feel like with, because I spoke to you before about it, when I saw Hateful Eight at the cinema, the Tarantino movie, he specifically asked for intermission to be put in. And I was like, when it's a movie that's more than 3 hours, I think that should be, or nearing 3 hours, I think it should just be.
Yeah, because we were talking about it, weren't we? Because when you go to, like, stage productions, any musical, apart from Six that I can think of, because that's considerably shorter, so it doesn't have... It's more like a concert than a show, I guess. But yeah, they all have intermissions, don't they?
Yeah.
And it's nice. It's nice to have like a little bit of a second where you can stand up. And most shows, the whole thing takes about 3 hours.
Yeah.
Like getting in and stuff. Most of them are 2.5 hours, including the interval.
Yeah, exactly. And it is nicer. It's nice to breathe. A lot of time going to the toilet, because 3 hours and 20 minutes is a long time to hold, even for most people with a good bladder.
Yeah, Mike's got a baby bladder.
I do. A very weak bladder. It just takes... I always have to pee every hour or so. But yeah, Avatar, really enjoyed it. If anyone's listening and they've done what we've done and like not watched it because they were underwhelmed the first time, I'd say go watch it, rewatch it, find some time, give it a go, and then I think that if The Way of Water is as good as this one, and most people I know have been saying it's actually better, the sequel is better than the first one. So we shall see. So Megan, what do you give it out of 10?
I think I'd give it an 8. I really liked it. I liked it a lot more than I remember, so I feel like I need to give it a little bump to kind of be like, sorry. Sorry, I've been slating on this movie.
James Cameron is one of our Patreon supporters, so thanks, James.
Cheers, Jimmy.
They do call him Jim, actually, on set.
Yeah, well,
Jim Cameron.
James Cameron also did Titanic, didn't he?
He did, and Terminator 2, and Aliens, and Terminator 1.
Yeah, I don't care about them.
Terminator 2 is phenomenal, so...
Titanic, because I was in love with Jack.
Yes.
Not Leonardo DiCaprio.
No, just the character.
The character, Jack. I can't even remember his surname. Is it Dawson? Jack Dawson?
I have no idea.
Now I need to Google it.
On air?
Yeah, on air. I'm going to Google it. Here's some hold music for you. Jack Dawson, I was correct.
All that. And there we go. So I get 8.5.
8.5.
8.5. 8.5 from me. 8 from Megan. Solid movie. Go watch it. Kind of excited to watch.
I mean, go watch it, even though it came out in like 2009.
Like everyone in the world has seen this film. Like it's one of those films almost everyone's seen. But yeah, help old Jimmy get his money back. The $2 billion it cost to make Avatar. Help him get that back in cinema fees if you can afford it and warrant spending. Because like with us, it's going to be going out to Avatar and coming straight home, leaving the beast alone for 4 hours.
Yeah.
Yes, but friends, thank you for supporting the show as always. We appreciate all of you. Tell us what you think of Avatar. Tell us if you've seen The Way of Water, and just let us know your general thoughts on James Cameron, old Jimmy, and
old Jimmy Cam.
Yeah, everyone loves Jimmy Cam, and we will speak to you very soon.
If he like put up a YouTube channel where it just showed like the inside of his house,
like Cribs,
kind of like Cribs, it could be called Jimmy Cam.
Right, like a lot of those live cams. There's always on. It's in his lounge. You can just hang out with old Jimmy Cam.
Come live and see Jimmy Cam.
Right. Well, James, Jimmy, Jim, if you're listening, we know you are one of my biggest supporters. Could you imagine if James Cameron really supported it? It'd be amazing. Thanks, James.
£1 a month.
Anyway, thanks, friends. We'll speak to you soon.
Bye. Here's some hold music for you. Jack Dawson, I was correct.
All that. And we're here with another afterthoughts. We're here with another afterthought. Because Megan is my favourite girl in the whole world. Yeah, so that is...
I hit myself too hard.
So, yeah, obviously Friends has got the famous clap in it, and whenever me and Megan watched it, we would always try and tap each other. It started off as a little thing.
It started off as a little thing, and then it became essentially a game of chicken.
Yeah.
You'd have to try and wait as long as possible
To look like
you're not going to do the clap, even though we both know that each of us is going to do the clap. And it's not even like a clap with our hands, it's tapping each other.
Yeah, and often it would be like one of us is cooking dinner and then we'd have to run over to the other one to get them. But yes, Friends, the iconic sitcom, arguably the most iconic sitcom that exists. It's something that, funnily enough, Megan had seen all of many times.
I have the box set. Well, I have the box set.
And I had seen bits and pieces of it over the last several years. Obviously it's been around since basically before it started in 93 and finished 2003.
Started in 94, ended in 2004.
Oh, okay. There we go. So it started the year we were born. So by the time you and I were 10, 11, 12, it was already a worldwide phenomenon.
I remember watching this when I was really young and not understanding some of the jokes. I distinctly remember reading Animal Farm in English. No, not Animal Farm, sorry. I did read Animal Farm in English, but not...
Little Women?
No, stop saying books, because I'm going to forget it. Of Mice and Men. I read Of Mice and Men at school as well. I have also read Little Women, but that wasn't at school. That was just for fun.
Fun reading.
So Of Mice and Men is obviously not obviously if you don't know what it is, but it's about George and Lenny, who are two farmhands. It's during the Great Depression in America, and they just want to save up enough money so that they can buy a land that has rabbits and it's got alfalfa in the garden. And Lenny is...
Where are we going?
I am making my point here. Lenny is... Did you not lock her in?
No, we said we wouldn't, didn't we?
No, you said. I said to lock her in. Sorry, we're doing this afterthoughts and Mike's not shut the crate properly, so now Willow's got out and we can hear her rumbling around in the living room. I'm just going to sing you some interlude music here.
I'm back. I'm going to save that and put that at the end as well.
Okay. So Lenny is... How do
you put that in?
How do I say it without being offensive? He's got a lot of learning difficulties.
Yeah.
And he doesn't understand his own strength.
He seems to kind of have the mind of a child.
Yeah, and spoiler, if you haven't read Of Mice and Men.
It's a very old book.
He kills a puppy because he cuddles it so tightly because he's so excited to cuddle a puppy.
We've all been there.
Yeah, well, I've never killed a puppy, but I have.
You squeeze them.
I just want to squeeze. But that happens in the book. The reason I'm saying all of this is because I distinctly remember reading that book when I was in English and then watching an episode of Friends where Joey is cuddling the chick really, really closely. And Chandler goes, "All right, hang on there, Lenny," and calls him Lenny because of that. And I was like, oh, shit. Okay.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of subtle sex jokes as well that obviously I was watching.
Not so subtle. I mean, later on in the series, everyone's just banging. It's like, okay, this is like a full-on thing that's spoken about, and it's fine. I'm fine. I'm open with happy with all that sort of jazz. But I found with Friends because I'd seen it in bits and pieces, and I knew the general storyline. I knew who got with who or what points and stuff, but I hadn't seen the intricacies of it. I hadn't seen some of the iconic episodes, and we watched the 10th anniversary, 20th,
yeah,
15th.
It started in 1994 and finished in 2004. No, it wasn't an anniversary. It was just a reunion.
Just a reunion show, right?
You're getting that mixed up with the Harry Potter one.
That is correct. I am, because we watched them quite near each other. But yeah, we watched that, and I was happy to watch it because I'd seen enough of Friends to get the gist, and Megan wanted to watch it because she's seen all of Friends tens of times.
I love Friends.
Yeah. So Megan and I kind of decided that it's a good show for when Megan's tired and falling asleep to, like New Girl was. It's a good show to watch. And so I watched all of Friends over this year. I think we started at the start of the year, didn't we? It's taken nearly a year of watching Friends most nights, and more than one on several nights as well. And yeah, I have enjoyed it. I thought it was a good show. There's certain parts in it that are like, oh, the Chan, the whole manliness stuff when Joe gets a purse.
There are things that haven't particularly aged well. So there are things that are problematic that haven't aged with the years, but I think it still stands up as holds up. Is that the saying? It holds up as a sitcom. I think it's still good, even though there are issues with it.
One small thing that I actually really enjoy about it is that whenever money is mentioned, they never say the amount. When, like, Chandler lends Joey money, he just sees the money and reacts to it, but you don't know the amount. And that happens quite a lot in the show.
I think there's an episode where Chandler and Monica both borrow $2,000 from Joey.
Mm.
But otherwise, yeah, there's a whole episode where...
They find out how much each other
No. There's a whole episode where Ross... They go out to dinner and then there's problems because people can't afford it. So there's...
Yeah, that's the episode I'm talking about.
What?
That's the episode I'm talking about.
Yeah, but you just said about something else that's from a different episode.
I'm talking about their jobs where they talk about how much they earn.
Oh,
for their
yeah.
jobs, like, comparing, and Joey and Phoebe are like, we can't afford
And
this.
Rachel.
Oh, yeah, because Rachel at the start can't afford it and then she can because she gets promotion.
Well, yeah, I mean, in that episode, I think it's in the first or second series, she's still a waitress in the Central Perk.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of which, in Manchester? Yeah, it was Manchester, wasn't it? In Manchester, in the Primark, they have a whole area that is dedicated to Friends, and they've got their own Central Perk within the shop, which I think is quite cool.
Yeah, because
But I have been to the actual place because I went to the Warner Brothers studio tour. But I went by myself.
So Warner Brothers?
Warner Brothers studio tour. But I had no friends with me because
irony.
I was there by myself. So
Friendless Megan.
when I was on the tour, these two American ladies befriended me. They were like...
Oh no!
Here
we go.
No. They were like makeshift like mums.
Oh, I see.
And they were. No, I wasn't trying to do an
That was
American
what you had to
accent.
prepare for. I was like,
No,
don't.
they were taking pictures of me for me. So, like, when I went and got sorted by the sorting hat by myself and had some strangers take pictures of me as I got selected into Hufflepuff.
Did you get to choose, or was it random?
No, it was random. It was literally just like a pre-recording.
Wow.
They like would press a button, and when you sat there, it would do it. But it chose the one that I identify with, which is funny.
That's great.
And then they took a picture of me in front of the Gilmore Girl house. And then I sat on the Central Perk sofa with a coffee mug by myself. They took a photo of me. I just sat there on my own. No friends.
No friends. Yeah, so I found that, Chandler is obviously very funny. I really like Joey in certain parts. I like... Monica is probably the most interesting because, or at least the person I like the most of the three women. For me, like, if I was in the friend group and kind of had to date them, I think Monica would be my number one, then Phoebe,
Why
then
would you have to date them if you're in the
Rachel.
friendship group?
And because they all date each other, don't they? And then with Joey, Chandler, and Ross, I think it's Chandler, then probably Joey, then Ross. I really don't like Ross, and I
Ross
don't
is
really
a
like
dick.
Rachel very much. And I really was never rooting for their relationship. And I knew the ending anyway, but I was just like, I just don't. I wish Ross had basically said that there's going to be spoilers, but you probably should have seen Friends by now, I guess, I should have done.
Yeah, it finished in 2004. We were a few years ahead of that now.
Yeah,
That's 18 years ago.
18 years ago, finished.
Wait, is that right?
Yeah. 18 years ago,
Right, we're
finished.
28.
I know how old we are. You get worried about this more than I do, but that's not going into existential dread in this podcast. It's about Friends.
Which, there is an episode about when Rachel turns 30.
There is. But I find that with the guys, it's like Ross and Rachel, I was never rooting for them the whole time. I was rooting for Monica and Chandler. But
Yeah, because they're more likeable.
But Rachel and Ross, I wish Ross had gone to, spoilers, to France. I wish that's how it had been
Rachel
resolved.
had gone to France.
I wanted Rachel to have gone to France and then Ross to have volunteered to go to France.
Followed her.
And that would have been a prove that he was not selfish. But I think the whole series, he's just constantly selfish and a dick about
The
things.
thing is that it's the character arcs, isn't it? You see Rachel in the first episode as this spoiled little brat who hasn't really ever had to lift a finger for herself. She just has to go to daddy and get money and etc. etc.
You see it reflected with her sisters and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And she chooses not to get married for the sake of just getting married. And she wants to marry someone that she actually loves. But obviously she is a spoiled brat in the first episode. And then you get to the end and her character arc, she develops a lot as the character gets older and has to deal with shit themselves. Whereas Ross, I just don't feel like he really has much of a character arc.
Just into dinosaurs.
He's just the same throughout, really. There are certain elements that I think he changes, but nothing really. If you think of all the other people, they do. Like, Joey becomes a bit more mature. Chandler also becomes a bit more mature. He gets with Monica. Monica, simmers out a bit. And she finds,
compromise.
her passions in life and her compromises. Phoebe...
It's more grounded, I suppose.
is more grounded, has managed to find a long-term relationship, and then there's just Ross.
Yeah, I don't like Ross. I'm not a Ross guy. I feel just like he works dinosaurs and he's the doctor, the paleontologist, and he just works at it, and then throughout he just does the career he wants to, and that's it.
Don't get me wrong, there are moments where I really like Ross. Like, he's really funny sometimes. I do like the character.
I think if I knew him, I'd probably be alright with him.
But to be honest, everyone that I've spoken to about Friends, which is a lot of people because I fucking love Friends.
And it's a worldwide phenomenon.
Ross is their least favourite. Ross is always the least favourite.
Because Ross sucks. But I love Chandler for the most part, but yeah, his whole obsession with masculinity and stuff sucks. And then the fact that he chose a woman to play his dad instead of a drag queen really annoyed me.
Well, I mean, it wasn't him that chose to do it.
Not I know it wasn't that, but I mean, that's another thing of the show that bothered me. I was like, I can't wait to see his dad as a drag queen. That's cool in Friends. And I was like, oh, it's actually a woman.
Yeah, when it comes to stuff like that, it hasn't aged very well, really. But, the
masculinity stuff and the kind of the gay jokes as well. But
I find it difficult because obviously I don't condone the stuff that I don't agree with. But at the same time, I'm like, okay, well, it was made in a different era. Like,
yeah, that is
it's a different period of time. Like, I'm not condoning it.
No.
I don't think they would make those jokes again, and I don't think they should, but it was a different time.
Yeah. I do agree, and I feel like there was only 1 or 2 episodes I really didn't like because of that sort of stuff, but aside from that, it really didn't dampen my enjoyment of the show as a whole, and I did... Apart from, I think it's series 8 or 9, there's the arc of Joey and liking Rachel and stuff and vice versa. I'm just like, I was not interested in that at all. I thought Joey liking, I was like, no, this is boring. I already know the ending and, this isn't how it's going to be and stuff. I just thought it was just a waste of time.
They do feel like filler episodes, don't they?
Yeah, there's quite a lot of that. But for the most part, I liked the fact that Monica and Chandler didn't actually... Like, it's sad that Monica couldn't be pregnant, but I'm glad that they chose a different method.
What I really like as well, though, is that it's not just one of them, it's both of them. So neither of them have good chances of getting pregnant. It's not, the blame doesn't go onto one of the genders. It's both of them, which I think is quite nice.
Yeah.
Because I think with stuff like that, it can break relationships. There's a lot of blame that goes onto it, isn't there, a lot of the time, from what I've heard. So it's nice that there isn't a specific one that is like, you're the reason that we can't have a baby.
Yeah, that sort of stuff is really tough, and I think they handle that sort of element really well on the show. And it's also that, Phoebe was a surrogate and had triplets, and then you've got Rachel had her own kid, and it's like you've got all these different
the family
ways.
Dynamics of having a the actual way of having a family in this show are very, I guess, modern with those times, because back then it would have still been more traditional families, mum, dad, and 2 kids. Whereas in this one, no one has a traditional birth. The first birth that you see is Ben, and that's a same-sex couple with a divorced pair.
Yep.
Then the second baby is the triplets, which is a surrogacy. Then you've got Rachel, which is the parents aren't together. It's a single parent.
Yep.
And then you've got Monica and Chandler, who have another surrogacy. And
it's on the other end.
It's on the other end. So it's quite cool.
Yeah. I agree with you in that. And I think it did a lot of things right. It did a lot more right than it did wrong. I think it is a really, really great show. I think I can see why people enjoy it so much.
And kids are still obsessed with it. There's the Harry Potter and Friends have had a massive resurgence. And I think it's probably because of the lockdown.
Yeah.
Just because everyone had more time to watch TV.
And parents showing their kids.
Yeah, exactly. Bonding. But the amount of children, a lot of year 7s have Friends stationery, pencil cases and stuff, or bags that say Central Perk, because Manchester, as we've said, has a whole Primark section that is dedicated to Friends. So Primark as a company have loads of Friends products.
Yeah.
So kids
and
going
Harry Potter products.
And Harry Potter, yeah. So they're going to Primark, getting really cheap clothing and bags and stationery that have all of these things, and there's a huge resurgence of Harry Potter and Friends.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, and I think the innuendos for the most part do go over most kids' heads, so that's why it can work for the younger people. And then if you watch it as a teenager, you understand more.
Well, I remember as well on TV when I used to watch it, because it used to be on Comedy Central. There are bits that they would cut out.
Oh right.
So sometimes when I'd watch the DVDs, I'd be like, "Oh, what the fuck? I've not seen this bit before."
Yeah.
It's there's one episode. It's the episode where Joey gets a stalker, and he ends up pretending that he's his evil twin brother, and then all of the people in the flat that are with him are going over and slapping him in the face and blaming him for something else.
Yeah.
And Chandler goes up to him and he was like, "And you left the toilet seat up, you bastard." But in the TV version, it didn't have the "you bastard" part. So when I watched it on the DVD for the first time, I was like, what? I was like, that makes it so much funnier.
Yeah, that's I obviously just watched them as an adult, so there's a lot of jokes that I was like, oh, I get this as an adult, I get this reference, I get this, I get that, and I don't think that if it was me watching it as a teenager, I would have got those things. So I found that I had a different kind of watching than a lot of people in our generation who watched it as kids and then repeatedly watched it as growing up. I just watched it when I was an adult. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I think it's cool. I think I can see why it's the phenomenon it is. I think it gets better as the seasons go on, apart from, as I said, series, I think 8 or maybe just 9. It's a bit weaker. Series 10's all right.
There are some funky haircuts in this show, though.
I think from series like 4 onwards, 4 to like 7 is probably the prime stuff. But there was a lot of funny jokes I found in the 10th season and things that made me laugh out loud.
Yeah, towards the end, you were laughing out loud a bit more.
Yeah,
I think the only shame for me is for you watching this, because you've been with people that like Friends, like prior to us actually sitting down and watching it. So you've seen like the odd episode and the odd clip and whatever, or like you've come home and I've by chance been watching it, so you've just watched the rest of the episode. I think there are certain episodes that you don't get to properly fully experience.
Yeah.
So like Pivot, for example, you already knew, which takes away the element of why that is so funny. The Holiday Armadillo, Unagi, like all of the like typical like classic episodes, you'd already heard them referenced. It's like me when I watched episode 5 of Star Wars. I had seen it before, but it had been so long that I didn't really remember. And then we were watching it and I was like, oh, this is the bit where Vader tells him that he's his dad. And you were like, well, I'm not going to say anything. And I was like, well, it is, because this is what happens in Toy Story 2. Because I knew the reference, it kind of took away the element of like, oh my God. And I think that some of the episodes, I don't think you, not appreciated, it's not the right word, but I think you would have enjoyed them more had you have not have seen all of those references prior.
It's kind of like...
That was a really long-winded thing that I was saying, but I think it makes sense.
Yeah, it's also, I've listened to the Greatest Hits album of a band with loads of albums out, and I've gone and listened to those albums, and then the standout songs are not really my favourites, because I already kind of have heard them and got into them and stuff. So it's like a lot of my favourite episodes, which I can't remember the names of or anything that really happens in them at the moment, but like ones I remember saying to you, oh, this was a really funny episode, I really enjoyed. None of them are really the big classic episodes, because I knew so many of the punchlines and the things, or I'd actually seen some of the bigger episodes.
It did make me laugh though, because when we were moving house, there would be points where Mike would go, pivot, and I'd be like, no, you can't say that because you haven't seen that episode yet.
But I have seen
I was like, no. I was like, you haven't seen the full episode. You cannot reference it until you've seen the full episode. And then he'd be like, what? And I'm like, no, you can't.
Bloody gatekeeper.
That's you can reference them all.
Yeah, but that's gatekeeping.
Yeah, well,
being a meanie. Friends gatekeeper. I didn't know they existed, but they are. There's one of them here.
I'm here.
But yeah, so what would you give Friends then? Out of 10?
A 9.5.
9.5? You think
love
it's
Friends.
near perfect?
I do. I think it is near perfect because I mean, it's not. It's the same fucking thing like when we talk about Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. I know it's not that great, but for nostalgic reasons, I fucking love that film.
Yeah.
Like, out of all of them, it's definitely nowhere near the best. It's probably near the lower end or like mid-range, but I fucking love that movie. And it's the same with Friends. There are problematic episodes and like problematic storylines and whatever. Not even problematic. I just don't think they're handled very well in oh my God. in comparison to like how they would deal with those topics nowadays, which is why it's getting a 9.5.
Right. That's fair. I'm probably going to give it an 8.5.
Yeah, well.
So that's what I'm going to give that. 8.5, I think, yeah, because it's really good, but it's not like Parks and Rec, which I'd give like a 9.5. It's not like,
see, Parks and Rec is a 10.
For me,
it's fucking 10.
Nah, series 1 of Parks and Rec excludes it from being a 10.
Oh, that is true.
You can't have a 10 out of 10 show. 10 out of 10 means it's literally perfect.
Yeah, but I would watch series 1.
Yeah, but same with me, like Star Wars, Clone Wars, or Rebels. Neither of those are 10s. There's too many parts that are boring and slow.
Thor Ragnarok's a 10.
Thor Ragnarok, I think, is close to a 10, but I think it's like 9.5 for me. It's nearly there.
Oh,
for me,
man.
Forrest Gump, Shawshank Redemption.
Oh yeah, Forrest Gump's a 10.
But
no, Parks and Rec, I know this isn't a Parks and Rec afterthoughts, but is a 9.75.
Fucking hell, okay.
And Friends is a 9.5, because if I had to choose between watching Friends and watching Parks and Rec, I would most likely watch Parks and Rec.
I definitely choose Parks and Rec. For me, Parks and Rec isn't.
They're both shows.
9.5.
They're both shows that I would now just put on the background to
So just so
watch
familiar with
while
them.
I'm doing like work or something. But if I were to actually going to sit down and watch them, I would probably choose Parks and Rec.
I mean, there's less of Parks and Rec as well, which does help. Like,
Because
almost half.
Friends has like 22 episodes a series, and there's 10 series.
22, sometimes up to 27.
Yeah, whereas Parks and Rec, like the first episode is 6 episodes.
First season is 6 episodes, yeah.
Second series is 22. The third series is only 16. So, yeah.
And then it carries on like that for a bit, and then the end is
I don't
slightly less.
remember afterwards.
But it's, yeah, I think Parks and Rec is still my favourite. I enjoy Big Bang Theory, but I think this is better than Big Bang
I do
Theory.
love Big Bang
I think Big Bang for me is 8, but I haven't seen all the final parts. I've seen up to like series like 7 or 8, I think.
Anyway, I want to stop this now because I want to go in the other room.
All right.
No offence to everybody listening.
No offence. So we've given our ratings.
I'm giving it a 9.5. You're
I'm
giving
giving it an 8.5.
All right.
And that's our feelings. Tell us what you think of Friends. Have you rewatched it recently? Just tell us your thoughts. Thank you so much for supporting the show. As always, my friends, we really, really appreciate it, and we appreciate you. And we're always happy to do these afterthoughts. So we'll speak to you very, very soon. And thanks again.
I'm just going to sing you some interlude music here.
You have just experienced host, creator, everything elser of Genuine Chit-Chat, and also the host and creator of Star Wars Comics and Canon, found on the Comics in Motion podcast, Mike Burton.